Summerslam 2020, the biggest party of the summer. Well, it may not even be the biggest party or any type of party at all. We're going to talk about Summerslam 2020, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to preview and predict the whole entire show. Now, this show is going to be taking place from the Amway Center in Orlando. WWE will now be beginning their filming in Orlando at the Amway Center. So the arena provides for more opportunity for pyrotechnics, arena effects, and different things that they can use to their advantage, which will make the show should be a better enhanced viewing experience. The card itself is not terrible. It's not amazing either. We have a couple of championship matches and some other matches as well. We're going to preview and predict the entire show, SummerSlam 2020. The lighting that's coming in right now is making me look like $1 million when I'm not even worth one. Just kidding. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your SummerSlam preview and prediction video. Hit the like button, subscribe, go nowhere else. When you go into SummerSlam this year, there's a lot of different things to talk about, particularly all the matches on this card. But what a lot of people will do is, some people consider it nitpicking, but there's so many different ways that they could have went about this show. Now, in all honesty, the card itself is not terrible, but I don't think it lives up to the hype of what a SummerSlam card would be. There's a lot of different decisions going on here. There's a lot of different matches booked. They don't really make sense. Why is Asuka fighting twice? And then there's some things that do make sense. The U.S. title match doesn't make sense. Why is MVP wrestling? He's supposed to be the businessman. He's supposed to be the manager. That spot should be given to somebody like Shelton Benjamin because MVP just doesn't need it. And a bunch of other things. Some of the feuds you were interested in, some of them you aren't. Regardless, I think that this show will play out to be fairly decent. I don't think it's going to live up to the aspect of a SummerSlam, depending on who you talk to and who it is that you ask. Now, like we always do with pay-per-views, we're going to preview and predict exactly what's going to happen here in SummerSlam 2020. As always, these are usually more of my popular videos. We have TakeOver Live tonight. Karrion Kross could be taking the title from Keith Lee. He has yet to lose a match in the WWE on NXT. We did not preview and predict that show, but we will review it hopefully tomorrow morning sometime. We will get that out for everybody as well. But what we're going to talk about here is the first match I'm going to start off with is the U.S. title match. Now, for some reason, MVP's wrestling. I think MVP, since coming back, has been brilliant in the role as a manager. MVP doesn't need to be in the ring. Guys like Shelton Benjamin need to be in the ring. Guys like Bobby Lashley need to be in the ring. Forget all that. Shelton Benjamin should be in this match. Put Shelton Benjamin on TV more. You paired him with MVP, which was brilliant, by the way. Okay, we all know that that was a great idea. But now we need to see him take the throne here. Apollo Crews versus MVP, it's not the match itself that nobody wants to see. It's the fact that MVP is in a spot that he shouldn't be. He's a manager. He's a business manager. That's what he should be. He should not be wrestling for the U.S. title against Apollo Crews, particularly at SummerSlam. Now, I did kind of a fantasy booking thing a while back, and I stated that I thought that Kevin Owens should take the title off Apollo Crews. I mean, that was the idea, wishful thinking. But why is MVP in this position? This match was booked so early. I think this was booked like a month ago. I don't know how long ago the match between Crews and MVP was booked, but I don't see any reason for MVP to win the United States Championship. Now, what my question is with this match is, does the Hurt Business get involved? A lot of people are going to say yes. If that's the case, then MVP could win the title. But again, I think Apollo Crews should hang on to the title. And I think that when Apollo Crews' time does come at some point this fall or whenever they choose for him to drop the U.S. title, it should be to somebody that is going to have a run with it. It should not be to MVP. And again, that's no disrespect to MVP. To me, his work all year in 2020 has been fantastic. But I think that Apollo Crews should hang on to this title. I don't think he needs to drop it. Could the Hurt Business get involved and MVP wins the title? Sure. It would make the Hurt Business seem more important. I already like them, but it doesn't need to be. As far as prediction goes, right now it's hard to see MVP not winning the title, and a lot of people are going to call me crazy for that, but I just think that the way they're building the Hurt Business, I wouldn't be shocked to see him win it. I really don't. I want Apollo Crews to retain, but I would not be surprised to see MVP. Now we're going to talk about the next match, Raw Tag Team titles. For those of you that live under a rock, there is no Raw Tag Team division, and for the first time in a while, we actually have two guys who make a legit tag team, and that's Andrade Cien Almas and Angel Garza. No disrespect to the Street Profits, but the first half of 2020 on the Raw tag team division scene was absolutely dreadful. It was literally the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders, and that was it. They weren't even wrestling. They were doing golf competitions. They were shooting basketballs. All these things that didn't make sense. Okay, and it was funny at first, you know, oh, nice little basketball competition. And then it's like, okay, what happened to tag team wrestling? You know what I'm saying? WWE, the main roster, hasn't seemed to get tag team wrestling in a while. Now, on SmackDown, it's a little bit of a different scene. You have some tag teams that have potential. You obviously have some tag teams that can bring something different. And it's not that Raw tag teams don't have potential. It's that they don't want to use them the way that they can be used. The Raw tag team division is non-existent. I thought for a while, this was actually, I believe this may have been the first match booked for SummerSlam. The Street Profits defending the Raw tag team titles against Andrade Cien Almas and Angel Garza. I thought the second this match was booked, I said Andrade and Angel are going to win the titles. I heard Vince McMahon's very high on Angel Garza. I hear that he likes Andrade. Obviously, Andrade being married or engaged to Charlotte Flair is going to give him some type of legitimacy look. I mean, they push Charlotte Flair, Andrade, you know what I mean? It all falls together. I really don't have to hesitate. I honestly think that Andrade and Angel Garza should win the titles. And hopefully they have a nice run with them. I do really like them as a tag team. I think Zelina Vega has been really, really great all year in her role with Andrade and Angel Garza. And Angel Garza and Andrade are clearly, in my eyes, the better team. The Street Profits are good. They're not bad. But I just think that, you know, regardless of whatever happens, Raw still has no tag team division. So let's not get that twisted, folks. They have no tag team division. But in all general honesty, I think that Andrade and Angel should win these titles, and it shouldn't even be thought about twice. My honest opinion, I like the work that they've done as a tag team, and they definitely deserve some type of compensation for it, and that compensation is going to be the Raw tag team titles. Without a doubt, I do believe Andrade and Angel Garza are winning. That's not my lock of the night. For those of you that don't know, the lock of the night is the match that I am predicting, and I'm putting everything that I own on it that will be the case. But Andrade and Angel should win these titles. Hopefully they'll have a good tag team wrestling match, because it's been a little bit of a while since we've seen one of those. And that's that. Next match was originally a hair versus hair match. It was Sonya Deville versus Mandy Rose in a hair versus hair match. And it was changed last night on SmackDown to a no disqualification loser leaves WWE match. And we all know 150% exactly why they did this. For those of you that don't know about the bone-chilling events that took place this week, Sonya Deville had a apparent kidnapper who's been stalking her for months invade her home and try to inflict some type of bodily harm. We did find out that Mandy Rose was also in Sonya Deville's home at the time. One of the things I will say is that person is sick. No bail, none of that. And that is probably the reason why this match was changed. Now, originally as a hair versus hair match, I had Mandy Rose winning. I could not see Mandy Rose bald. I think Sonya Deville bald wouldn't look great, but I think it would be able to be pulled off. This match was changed last night for one and one reason only. If Sonya Deville is taking time away from WWE based on the events that just happened. Those events being the trial or whatever she's going to have to go to against this disgusting person. That is probably what I think. I think Sonya Deville's head state right now is maybe not where it should be. She just went through what was a lot of people will label a traumatic experience. She probably doesn't feel safe, and it's okay to feel all of those things, especially after what she went through. And I think that WWE is going to try to give her some time off right now, based on what has happened because of that, which would play into role of this. It would play into role of this match. No disqualification, loser leaves WWE. Now, in my honest opinion, Sonya Deville as a character, I would have her win this match, but it's not going to happen because of everything that just happened. Mandy Rose is going to win this match, and I think that Sonya Deville is going to take some time away. I don't know how long, but based on what's happened, you know, they're going to try to maybe slide her off of TV for a while, and it kind of sucks because she was really starting to, in my honest eyes, starting to get over and seem really believable. I like Sonya Deville a lot. In my eyes, had none of this happened, I would have Sonya Deville win this. But we know how WWE will probably value Mandy Rose over Sonya Deville. You know, a lot of people might not look forward to this match, but in all honesty, the story's been built pretty decently, and it's been built for a while. I do have Mandy Rose winning this match, and I have her winning because of the events that coincided this week with the kidnapping, and I think that Sonya Deville is going to take some time away from professional wrestling based on that. And all understanding to that, definitely going through something like that, I can only imagine. Mandy Rose went through it too, but obviously loser leaves WWE. I don't think they would put that stipulation there at all if someone wasn't taking time away, and that's what most of those matches mean. She will be back. Sonya Deville's not retiring, and I think when she does come back, or whoever it is, I mean, they could do a major plot twist and have Sonya win. I don't think that would do any services, but for WWE to change the stipulation on a fly like this, particularly over what happened earlier this week with Sonya Deville, there's really no doubt in my mind that Sonya Deville is going to be taking some time away, but we do wish her the best and hope that everything works out for her and that guy does not see the light of day. Mandy Rose wins this match, in my honest opinion. Street fight! Seth Rollins versus Dominick Mysterio. This match was booked, I think when it was first booked, it was booked as a regular match. Now, we all know why it's a street fight. WWE screwed up here on this match, okay? They didn't screw up by making it a street fight. They screwed up because Rey Mysterio announced he will be in the corner of his son. What you would do is, you would have Seth Rollins fight Dominick in a street fight, and it would be a street fight because Dominick would not look as weak in a street fight as he would in a regular match. In a regular match, Seth Rollins would run circles around Dominick Mysterio, and we all know this, and I don't think anybody would enjoy that. But a street fight, you can bring in the weapons. Dominick can use a kendo stick, a chair, a table, and he can get in his offense, and it will make Dominick look strong. It will not make him look weak. A street fight is the perfect stipulation for both of them. I think, in all honesty, it should have been Seth Rollins versus Rey Mysterio in a street fight, and they should have did this match with him and Dominick at Extreme Rules, because then you have him beat the crap out of Dominick, and then Rey is coming after him. But they did it ass backwards a little bit, but for whatever it is, street fight is the right stipulation. You know, Seth Rollins has been great all year. The feud with Rey Mysterio got personal when Dominick became involved. And me personally, the only problem I have with this is Rey Mysterio being in the corner of him. What I would have is Dominick get his ass beat tomorrow night, and you then have Rey Mysterio come down to the ring. So Dominick's getting his ass beat, and here comes Rey Mysterio to make the save, and that's when Rey Mysterio finally gets his hands on Seth Rollins. But instead, they're doing it this way. I don't know why. You know, if it's a street fight and Rey Mysterio's involved, I would say Dominick wins this match. If it's a regular fight and there's no appearance from Rey, Dominick is getting annihilated. But Rey Mysterio, obviously, coming in would even the odds. But, you know, this is really a hard match to predict because, in all honesty, if I can be honest with you, I have to tip my hat off. WWE has done a very good job with this feud. They haven't booked it the way that it needs to be perfectly, but it's almost like I want Seth Rollins to win because I want to see the feud continue. I don't want to see it end. It's weird because Seth Rollins in 2020 has been fantastic. Rey Mysterio has done his job. Dominick has, for someone that doesn't wrestle, I understand that Rey Mysterio is his father, but for someone that doesn't wrestle, he's not bad. He's not bad. I think he's coming along, and I think within a few years he could really have some legacy to live up to on WWE. But with Rey in the corner, I have Dominick winning because I think that they want SummerSlam to finally be the hoorah and to have the Mysterio and everybody go over. It's almost like I don't want to. You know, as I got older in age, I've become to gravitate towards heels and really respect it. It's the same thing with Randy Orton, which we'll get to in a little bit. But for me, Dominick wins this match if particularly Rey Mysterio is involved. Ranks the Women's Championship. Here's another botch on the card. Bayley versus Asuka. They had the Beat the Clock challenge yesterday, which would put the situation in the way that it is. Bayley's been good as SmackDown Women's Champion. She doesn't have much of a division to work with on SmackDown. There's no Lacey Evans. The spot here, Asuka doesn't need to be wrestling twice at SummerSlam. Yes, Asuka's great. We love Asuka. Naomi needs to be in this spot. You've started to put Naomi on TV more. It should have been Bayley versus Naomi for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Sasha versus Asuka, I get. There's not too much to dive into deep with this match, but in all honesty, Sasha and Bayley, they're losing some kind of gold tomorrow night. What kind of gold it is, I don't know. Does WWE plant towards plant towards the feud? Do they pull the trigger tomorrow night? Do they have Sasha cost Bayley? Do they have Bayley cost Sasha? I don't know. You know, I don't know if WWE is going to be able to drag this feud out as much as they would like. I think, in all honesty, they really want the Sasha and Bayley feud at some point, and we all do. Believe me, please. Anybody that knows me knows I'm Sasha Banks' #1 fan. But I think, in all honesty, you know, you have to look at where they're planning to go and how they're planning to do it. If you have the heel turn tomorrow night, by Survivor Series, you got to have something. You don't want to see, who's the September Payback. You don't want to see that. That would be, and I could see WWE having the heel turn and having Sasha versus, could you imagine if they were dumb enough to do that? Have the heel turn and then have Sasha versus Bayley at Payback the next week. I would, oh my God, I would blow a gasket. This, Bayley's going to win the SmackDown, or Bayley's going to retain. Asuka's not even on SmackDown. Why would she have anything to do with the SmackDown Women's Championship? Can we please push Naomi to some type of standard here? I mean, honestly, can we stop you know, I love Sasha and Bayley, and I said that Asuka's great also, but can we push Naomi into something of importance? You don't think she deserves it yet? Bayley's going to retain unless they do that. But now, like I was saying, if they pull the trigger on the feud, now we have what do they do next? September, October, November. You could push the feud out to Survivor Series, maybe even Royal Rumble, but you can't push that feud out to WrestleMania. Not if you pull the trigger tomorrow night. Raw Women's Championship. Asuka, hey, appearance #2 of the night. Sasha Banks versus Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. Sasha Banks is great in her own right. She doesn't need the Raw Women's Championship. I think one way or another, Asuka's going to get gold tomorrow night. I think it would be more appropriate for her to win the Raw Women's Championship. But again, I don't want to see Sasha Banks lose a match. She needs to be built to be strong, and I don't want to see her lose at SummerSlam. The Women's Championship is very difficult on how they're going to go about it for SummerSlam. In my honest opinion, like I said, I think Bayley retains. Because if Asuka wins the SmackDown Women's Championship, what does that do for anything? You know what I mean? I know Sasha and Becky. I know Sasha and Bayley have been, you know, toe and toe with Raw and SmackDown, but I don't see what Asuka winning the I think it would be more appropriate for Asuka to win the Raw Women's Championship. Sasha doesn't need it. Sasha needs the SmackDown Women's Championship, and she needs to take it off of Bayley. She doesn't need the Raw Women's Championship. But Sasha Banks also doesn't need to lose at SummerSlam. Maybe they all win their gold. Maybe Sasha and Bayley both win. It would just be hard to see Asuka going winless in both matches at SummerSlam, so I can't really make a prediction. I would say the safe bet would be Asuka take the Raw Women's title and Bayley retain her SmackDown Women's title. But, you know, again, you know, who am I? We're going to get to the 2 main championship matches just in a minute, but I want to make it, well, I don't have any sponsors. We're going to talk about the 2 main championships here. Braun Strowman versus the Fiend Bray Wyatt for the Universal Championship. I thought months ago that the Fiend was coming out at SummerSlam and winning the Universal title, so I kind of already knew this was coming. The feud between Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt hasn't been perfect, but I think in all honesty in recent weeks there's been some bright spots of it. I will tell you this. I've never been a huge Braun Strowman fan outside of when he was first called up in 2018, but in all honest to God opinion, Braun Strowman in the last couple of weeks, again, still not his biggest fan, he's done some things very well. I think cutting his hair has made Braun Strowman look more mental and look more psychotic. And if he was facing anybody other than The Fiend at SummerSlam, I would say Braun Strowman would retain the Universal title. But he's not. He's facing Bray Wyatt, and he's not facing Bray Wyatt, he's facing The Fiend. SmackDown started yesterday with Vince McMahon coming out to the ring, welcoming fans to the Thunderdome, and I want to talk about this real quick before we go any further. The Thunderdome, the set and everything looks great. It's phenomenal. The virtual fans are not as annoying as I thought they would be. There's a lot of lights, and sometimes it hurts my eyes. But from a general standpoint, I don't think that the Thunderdome is that bad of an idea, and I have to put my hands together for the Amway Center. They've done a very good job working with WWE for the set of it, and I think SummerSlam is going to look fantastic visually. I might actually try to see if I can get a virtual spot, because I had an email that I had gotten for SmackDown. I was thinking about doing it for SmackDown. I might try to see if I can get a spot at SummerSlam. I probably won't, but because there's so many people. But regardless, anyways, and the Fiend was shown with Vince, and I thought, holy shit, the Fiend is about to attack Vince McMahon. Retribution comes out, Braun Strowman comes out, and the Fiend disappears, and Retribution attacks Braun Strowman. And then the roster comes out, tries to break it up, yada, yada, yada. To close the show, Braun Strowman threw Bray Wyatt off of a concrete surface onto the floor. Bray Wyatt was clearly injured, and this was regular Bray Wyatt. He was well out of it, and he was taken into the ambulance. The ambulance slowly drove out of the facility as Bray Wyatt was being carted away, and then it stopped at the front. The ambulance started to reverse. It reversed. So from my eyes, I was thinking that Braun Strowman was the driver of the ambulance, and he was going to get out and continue assaulting Bray. All of a sudden, the red lights and smoke showed from the back of the ambulance, and clear as day, it was the Fiend. The doors opened and the Fiend came out, and let me tell you, when the Fiend does his setting-like things, he does these things in different environments, it is so great. That was a great ending to SmackDown. I have to put my hands together because I'm not a huge person sometimes for the main roster, but man, do I gotta tip my hat to SmackDown. The show last night on SmackDown wasn't even that bad. The beginning was great, the ending was phenomenal. Bray Wyatt coming out with the red smoke around him, just looking like a monster. It's ridiculous. Anyways, Braun Strowman has meant to look a little bit better in recent weeks. I don't really care too much about Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt, the feud as a whole, but Bray as the Fiend, there's nobody that needs this win more than Bray Wyatt. If Bray Wyatt loses as the Fiend clean to Braun Strowman, please cancel your network subscription. Cancel everything. This should be, what happens, my prediction is the Fiend to win the Universal title, and that's what needs to happen. But my question is, what happens if Braun Strowman wins? It's not going to happen. But what happens if Braun Strowman wins? Then what? The Fiend is dead. And if the Fiend wins, where does Braun Strowman go? Do they continue the feud? There's a lot of questions going into, and there should be a lot of questions going out of SummerSlam. But for me personally, there's no doubt in my mind that the Fiend wins this. The Fiend needs it, and I think that Universal Championship will look real good around the Fiend, Bray Wyatt. And I love the different alter ego characters that they brought into play. But the big one, the main event of SummerSlam, a feud that, for what it was worth, was built very great. Drew McIntyre defends his WWE Championship against Randy Orton in a singles match, which will most likely undoubtedly be the main event of SummerSlam for tomorrow night. I want to say this right now. A lot of people are very questionable about this match. The match is going to be phenomenal. Both men, great at what they do. But there's a question that goes into it. Again, the feud was built great. It's lose-lose, it almost feels like, depending on which side you're on for the Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton feud. It's lose because, not if, but when Randy Orton wins the title tomorrow night, people will complain that Drew McIntyre never got his moment in front of the fans, and people will complain that Drew McIntyre should have had a much longer reign. Those are both true, but to make SummerSlam feel important, I feel like they needed to give Drew a legit opponent, and they did Randy Orton. Drew McIntyre won the title in front of absolutely nobody at WrestleMania 36 in the heart of the coronavirus pandemic, and now he defends his title, in which will be his last title defense, against Randy Orton. Randy Orton loses, every monstrous thing that he's done this year is thrown away. Randy Orton's legacy will not take a hit if he loses, but he's not going to lose. I'm trying to get people to understand the fact that Randy Orton has been on this level that it's just not touchable. I've been watching wrestling for almost 2 decades. Randy Orton is doing the best work of his career since he was the Legend Killer in 2009. This version of Randy Orton, punting Christian, taking out Edge, what he did to Ric Flair, what he did to Shawn Michaels, is just a different level Randy Orton that you just will not see again. And there's no better way to compensate Randy Orton than to give him the WWE title. Randy Orton, it doesn't matter if he was going against all of Retribution by himself. Randy Orton has been so good this year that there is no way he will lose to anybody. Randy Orton just won't lose. He can't lose. Could you imagine if Drew McIntyre retained his title tomorrow night? And again, that's no disrespect. I love Drew McIntyre. He's been great. But Randy Orton is just on that level that nobody else is. And that's what I'm trying to get people to say. Randy Orton is here and everybody else is here. Yes, Drew's great. He's been a good champion for what it's worth. And I want his reign to be longer. But they're pulling the trigger on this match now. Randy Orton is going to get the job done and win the title tomorrow. And the question then becomes, who takes the title off of Randy Orton? Does the feud with Drew continue? It could. I don't think it should, because I don't want to see Drew McIntyre lose again, because God forbid Randy Orton won the title and the next pay-per-view Drew won it back. Those flip-flop potato games, you play those games with the mid-card titles, because they haven't made mid-card titles feel important. You don't play that with the main championship. I have no doubt in my mind Randy Orton's winning. Could Drew McIntyre win? I guess. But it doesn't, you know what I mean? I don't see it. I don't see Drew McIntyre winning tomorrow night. I really don't. I think this match is great and it's something to look forward to. Randy Orton doesn't have Ric Flair on his side. You know, what would be crazy if Ric Flair was in Drew McIntyre's corner? I mean, Ric Flair right now, WWE storyline-wise, is probably on a breathing tube after what Randy Orton did to him. But if Ric Flair was on Drew McIntyre's side, that would be pretty dope. That would be pretty dope. Randy Orton deserves the title. And I know Drew deserves a longer reign, but Randy Orton, again, he's just on that level right now where nobody else is. And it's just unbelievable. And I think there's no better way to compensate him than give him the world title. Because there's no guy, right? There's no guy outside of Randy Orton that deserves the world title more. You can't sit here and say Seth Rollins. Yeah, Seth Rollins is good, but he had his feud with Drew McIntyre. He's doing his work with Rey Mysterio and his son right now. There's no guy that, in my honest opinion, and you can say I'm wrong or right, there's no guy that deserves the world title more than Randy Orton. That's what I believe. And there's been nobody on television that's been booked to win. Randy Orton wins the WWE title. Ladies and gentlemen, we ran a little bit long here, but that's how we do on our full show preview and predictions. I want to say I appreciate everybody for watching as always. I hope you enjoyed TakeOver tonight. Should be a great show. And SummerSlam as well should have a lot of variables going in. Continue to stay safe and go nowhere else.